I probably should try to ask him here, but I had How are you?
Of course. I can't wait.
Okay, now that we have all the necessary things, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And first thing we'll do is the Pledge of Allegiance. And Joe, would you like to lead us?
Ready? Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bingo. Okay. Approval of the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
That includes the regular board notes, correct? I was just saying that I was saying that the Fred, not the friend group, was doing a great job. So just a little typo perhaps, because it's Fred, P-H-R-E-D. Yes, I know it's bouncing fixed.
Oh, okay. I'll still entertain a motion and then we can have discussion. Oh, but that's okay.
I so move.
All right. Second, moved and seconded. Now is there further discussion?
Fred.
Okay.
There we go.
I know, it's like we got a question.
I guess I wasn't here for this meeting, so I just want to clarify. I know, and it says that absent Christopher McMorrin, just in case anyone forgot. But for the regular session, so on item B2, board decision, I remember us talking about that you all voted to like give Rick the authority to like send a letter or something.
Oh, yeah.
And that just wasn't noted in here from what I saw. It just says move to accept the complaint appeal. Do we need to note that in there, or?
No, it was
because
written in the
it was one-
language.
Okay. And then I have one other question.
Yep.
For item 3I, or 3.1, just in public comment, Nina Petrovich said she wanted to volunteer her time to help with solutions. Are we following up with that?
She and I have been in email communication.
She's going to start her across the street.
Oh, so that makes it easy. All right, thank you. I'll be quiet.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's what's forced to ask the question.
Who seconded? Was it Joe or Christopher?
It was
Joe.
not me.
Okay.
Okay, no more discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Is there a request for any agenda modifications? Hearing none, we'll move on. Public comment. Michelle, do you have any green cards?
No, I do not.
Okay. There's no public comment either. Hey, we're moving right through this tonight. Student government report.
Here comes along.
I know, here's one.
This is my favorite
Get
part.
ready. Hi, everybody. Some fun ASB things. So past events, we had a tailgater on April 12th. We had pretty good attendance. Our baseball and softball games got rained out, but we still had it anyways.
Sure.
They all swung through after practice and it ended up working out really well. Later that night, we played Spider-Man No Way Home. That didn't have great attendance, but everyone that was there had a lot of fun. And the best part of the whole thing for me personally was that one of our new freshman additions to ASB, Ben McGovern, I gotta shout out him. He spearheaded the whole thing. He was super into it. He made everybody who was at the movie popcorn. So he did a great job, and I was really proud of him for taking that on. We also had a pancake breakfast on April 11th. Just one of those, we hadn't done one in a while. People were feeling a little low, so we thought, why not make everybody free pancakes? That went super well. Those are well-oiled machine at this point. And then we hosted for the first time, since I've been in high school at least, a chess tournament during lunch. We asked our freshmen in the ASB class, what do you want to do? Like, what do the freshmen want? And they said, they want a chess tournament. And so we made it happen, 2 sides of the bracket. We had a winner, high participation. So, you know, sometimes gotta think outside the box, but engagement was great for that.
At one point, there was a chess team at the high school long ago.
Yeah, we have chess club with Dr. Cerny, so a bunch of those kids signed up. So it went super great, so that was exciting. Looking ahead, this coming Monday, we have our blood drive. Community members are completely welcome. We always need more adults because, you know, teens get turned away for so many reasons. So
Would
everyone.
they have to be at least 17 to go?
Yeah, they have to be
So you can only
16 with parent
Oh,
permission.
16 with parent.
Yeah,
How do we sign up for that?
you can just show up.
Oh my God.
Yep,
Wow.
you're free on Monday. You can just show up.
Yeah.
Walk-ins welcome.
Unfortunately,
Yep.
I can't do it anymore.
And then our new ASB elections are May 10th. So at the May meeting, hopefully I will have somebody with me to kind of hand over to them. And then May 6th is our prom. That's not an ASB event, but they still wanted me to put out there to the community. They're still looking for chaperones. So if anybody's interested, you can reach out to me. And then our homegoing week is coming up the last week of May, first couple days of June. I'll have a lot more information about that at the May meeting. But I will give you a little teaser. We did finalize our order for a dunk tank for our field day we're adding. So that's all I'm gonna say about that one. We got a dunk tank. Oh, it's the last week of May. Yeah, super exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I have.
I've heard there's some good stuff gonna happen at that field day.
I'm hoping. We're still working through some kinks, but yeah, it's gonna be good. All right, is there any questions?
No, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Can we dunk Rick?
If we have his permission, I'm sure students would love it.
I move that we.
I've been a donkey before.
I think we're gonna get Henderson too.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'll get that.
Thank you.
I have one thing that I want to go back to. The request for agenda modification and put it under strategy and discussion is the student representation to the board. And how we need to advance that.
Yeah, we
Because
do.
we need to get it going pretty quick to
Yes.
be able to elect next year's representative so that they can kind of sit in maybe a meeting or two this year and kind of get their feet wet and then do that. So I want to at least discuss that.
Yeah.
So we'll put that under D1 under strategy and discussion for the student representative for the board. And my apologies for not getting that right the first time, but. Okay, association report, I don't see Lynn anywhere. OSEA, you don't see anything.
OSEA gave me information today.
Oh, okay.
And their thing was the desire to update that OSEA and I are reviewing together the position descriptions for all our classified employees and making sure those are up to date and consistent. And then we will start working on updating the observation and evaluation protocols for our classified staff. Right now, it's the traditional things like comes to work on time, dresses well. I mean, all those things that are important, but it doesn't get to the heart of what we're all about in terms of education is what is it in your job that is important for you to get feedback about. And so those are the kinds of things that we're wanting to change to have them be more meaningful and more growth oriented for our classified staff. The other thing that I have to give a shout out to them for is they have worked very hard with me as we take over food service in the Philomath School District of agreeing to a memorandum of understanding, since they're right in the middle of their agreement, to be able to place our food service employees in the salary schedule, agree to the position descriptions and those kinds of things. And so OSEA has signed off on that agreement so that we can continue to move forward in that way. And it's been a great process to be able to make it happen.
Okay. CTE update.
And I should have made that change. That was, our presenter had something come up in family, and so we're gonna move that to May.
I remember that email now. Superintendent report then.
The first thing that I'd like to do is, as we do every year, is there are two specific things to acknowledge, and we typically do them after the fact. And make my change right now. We typically do them after the fact, and this time I'm finally enough ahead of the game to be able to make sure that we have them done. And it's May, it's not March. So
I was just gonna
that's
ask.
the nice thing about doing it on the fly. So for our proclamation about our teachers and the appreciation for their work and dedication to be able to support our students in schools and students who have, there's been a change in what's presented to us at the door every day in the course of even the last 5 or 10 years, and they come to work every day, most of the time. So we celebrate Teacher Appreciation Week every year during the first full week in May. The Philomath School District Board of Directors wishes to make this proclamation of appreciation. Whereas teachers mold future citizens through guidance and education, and whereas teachers encounter students of widely differing backgrounds, and whereas our country's future depends upon providing quality education to all students, and whereas teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service, and whereas our community recognizes and supports its teachers in educating the children of this community. Now therefore be it resolved that the Philomath School District Board of Directors proclaims May 8th through 12th, 2023 to be National Teacher Appreciation Week. In addition, be it further resolved that the Philomath School District Board of Directors strongly encourage all members of our community to join in personally expressing appreciation to our teachers for their dedication and devotion to their work. Adopted, if we agree to, this day, the 20th day of April 2023. The second is National School Nurse Day. And especially coming out of the world of COVID and pandemic, we got some pretty awesome nurses. And we need to be able to appreciate them. I found it interesting in looking up the date because May 10th this year is, they always pick the Wednesday, is National School Nurse Day. And the information said they try and put it as close to the 12th of May, whatever that Wednesday of that week is. Because May 12th represents the birthday of Florence Nightingale. And so as the, what the information said to me as the founder of modern nursing, it's kind of fitting that that be the day and time. So I really did a good job on this. We celebrate Teacher Appreciation Day on National School Nurse Day. Okay, I blew it. To honor our nurses, the Philomath School District Board of Directors wishes to make this proclamation of appreciation. Whereas children are the future, and by investing in them today, we are ensuring our world for tomorrow. And whereas all students have a right to have their health needs safely met while in the school setting, and whereas children today face more complex and life-threatening health problems requiring care in school, and whereas school nurses have served a critical role in improving public health and in ensuring students' academic success for more than 100 years, and whereas school nurses are professional nurses that advance the well-being, academic success, and lifelong achievements of all students by serving on the front lines and providing a critical safety net for our nation's most fragile children. And whereas school nurses act as a liaison to the school community, parents, and healthcare providers on behalf of children's health by promoting wellness and improving health outcomes for our community's children. And whereas school nurses understand the link between health and learning and are in a position to make a positive difference for our children every day. Now therefore be it resolved that the Philomath School District Board of Directors celebrates and acknowledges the accomplishments of school nurses everywhere and their efforts of meeting the needs of today's students by improving the delivery of health care in our schools. The board also offers gratitude to school nurses who contribute to our community by helping students stay healthy in school and ready to learn. not just on National School Nurse Day, but at every opportunity through the year. Be it further resolved that the Philomath School District Board of Directors strongly encourage all members of our community to join in personally expressing appreciation to our school nurses for their dedication and devotion to their work on this nationally recognized day of May 10th, 2023. So I think it's just a great opportunity to be able to recognize and encourage two very strong groups of folks that do great things for us.
Unless I hear anything different, I'll go ahead and sign both of these. Okay, awesome.
I mentioned a little bit about, just a little conversation about food service. We have continued more updates. We're in our final stages with agreement with the Corvallis School District. Philomath will be assuming the oversight for the student food and nutrition services beginning in the fall of 2023. We will have an agreement with Corvallis School District. They will provide food and they will complete the essential reporting on the nutritional requirements that need to go before the USDA. We as Philomath will now have responsibility for hiring the staff, for completing the monthly meal reports, for processing the free and reduced meal applications, for accepting student parent payment, and all the other ancillary things that go along with that. So it's a big shift for us, and but it's something that we've been meeting consistently on. Our food service people have been very much involved. In fact, we meet with them tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow and next week. And we are sharing with them information about, Corvallis has told them that they are guaranteed a job in Corvallis if they choose to be able to do that. So they know they will have a job. We have said in our agreement with OSEA that individuals who currently work in our kitchens will have the opportunity to remain in Philomath without need to apply or interview, that we'll just make those moves. And if there are new people, we will go through the customary traditional hiring process. And so the desire is to keep our people and honor their commitment to Philomath. So those are conversations we have. The other thing that we're going to be looking at next week are really the nuts and bolts and having them help us. So for instance, we're already talking about let's craft an opportunity to be able to train substitutes, and substitutes that have food handlers licenses, so that we are ready when we have to ask for substitutes next year to make sure that that need can be filled. But we want our current staff to be able to help us plan what that looks like and help with implementation. And so it's those kinds of things that we're leaning toward their expertise and encouragement to be able to be a part of the process all along the way. So it's going to be a shift, and like I said, communication with our families is going to be critical. The look and feel for the community and for students really won't change. It will be the background and everything else that's going on that the district is taking on that will be the frenzy. The rest of it for kids will look very much the same. So stay tuned, we'll continue to update people, and here we go.
So the communication part of it then, as it stands now, as it has been, Corvallis communicates with Philomath and Philomath communicates with families. Is that the way it's been?
Corvallis has done,
or do they communicate directly?
they've communicated directly with families.
Okay, so we're going to pick up that piece of it?
Yes.
Okay.
They have also processed all our free and reduced meal applications. They've dealt with deposit, or you do the payments and send them over, or do they get the
They
money?
do all the claims
Yeah,
and
so-
reimbursements, we just pass the money on to.
Yeah,
Okay,
so there will be,
some changes.
yeah, oh yeah. And like I said, the changes will be in the background about you know, how, because we have to do monthly reporting on numbers of meals served and, you know, the whole litany of things like that.
Except for the communication part, that will be right up front. It'd be Philomath communicating with families
Yes.
rather than Corral.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I just want to know who is responsible for that.
No, that's the only thing that we've asked Corvallis to continue to do, is they've set up an agreeable arrangement to continue to provide food.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to continue the order process, and they will take care of the USDA meal
Okay.
requirements, and we'll take on everything else. A big part of that, which is nice, is Corvallis is set with the storage capability right now to be able to handle bulk orders of food, where that would be a pretty big load on us to get started, and needing to make sure that we've got enough storage and enough refrigeration, freezer capacity to be able to deal with that.
Okay.
So, and I don't think very many chicken nuggets will fit in my freezer. So, the other thing to talk about with budget and input ideas, and this comes as a result of the budget committee work session that we had earlier this week. Okay, they're starting to run together. So it's really putting it out there that with the current proposal of a $9.9 billion state school fund, Philomath needs to address a budget deficit in 2023, 2024. We have taken into account enrollment because that's how we are funded. And we know that our graduating classes have more students than our incoming primary classes. And in looking at that and at birth rates, we anticipate that there will be fewer students. And so rather than estimating on the high end what number of students we would have, we estimated somewhat lower based on those pieces of information. And we can look at changing that should we see that be different in the fall, but want it to be real thoughtful in that way, knowing that if we estimate too high, we're going to end up paying things back in the end, and didn't want to put ourselves in that kind of a position. So we've started the conversations about what does this mean in terms of at a $9.9 billion state school fund. In a first year, I think we will net maybe, what, $150,000 overall in a budget before that does anything with anybody's salary or anything else like that. So we know that cuts are going to need to be made. And right now, is it program? Is it days? Is it staff? What is it? And it's the hard part to do, to be able to figure that out. We passed a local option levy. We want to maintain those kinds of things to be able to make sure to keep our promises in that. And we want to be able to do everything we've always done. I mean, it's just where we are. And so the budget committee had made the suggestion that we reach out to staff in our community to, first of all, share clear information about where we stand right now from a budget perspective, if it remains at a $9.9 billion state school fund proposal, to request priorities so that we can hear from people about you cannot cut A, B, or C. If you're thinking about cutting this, can we look at numbers of school days? No, we can't look. I mean, it's just kind of saying what are some things that really matter with our community and family and our students. And then the last part is really to consider additional opportunities. So who's got some good ideas thinking outside the box that we may not have ever even thought of? To be able to make sure that we can fill the gaps. We all know that everything is higher priced. And when we say consider additional options, it's, I am becoming a sleuther for grants and looking at ways of being able to advocate in that way. We know that the summer learning has been put on hold, summer learning money has been put on hold, and we've been told to plan as if we won't receive it. but we're looking to another possible source to be able to get some money, to be able to take on some of our summer opportunities for students so that we can do that. So it's really trying to make sure that we look at ways to maximize what we're doing. So Jennifer Griffith and I continue to work on that, and we'll be sharing information with the board to be able to put that forward, to be able to see what we get in terms of information. And Synergy, the new student information system, we're keeping moving on that. We will be working with LBL, our regional ESD, to have a portion of the June 20th makeup day involve Synergy as far as use and being able to play in it a little bit, simply to see how it works. It's not going to be so much about learning every little detail about it, but that way we're not coming back in the fall and never having seen anything or any part of it. So that's part of our work. We've also started licensed bargaining, and we've had 2 sessions in what we look at to co-create a successor collective bargaining agreement. We've only addressed at this point language considerations, and part of that has to do with we're not sure about the state school funding component of it, and want to be realistic in a way that we can put out something that has meaning rather than something that has no meaning, but it's just a piece of paper. So our compensation and related financial conversations will be coming. And we have more meetings scheduled, but I just put the next 2 on here, April 24th and May 1st. And graciously, with Mrs. Couture, we've been able to meet at Clemens Primary School, and we start our meetings at 5:30. 2 things I didn't put on this list, but I want to be able to share are some.
You want to let them know that that is open to the public too?
Yes, it is open to the public if anybody wants to show up and listen and be a part of that. Thank you. The 2 other things that are stop share that are nice to be able to reference is kindergarten orientation or kindergarten roundup. Orientation, thank you, I'll get my words right. It happened Thursday night. You want to trade me places? Tuesday night, Mrs. Couture was telling me today that the numbers of families involved, because it was all done via Zoom in this day and age, that the number of families who could be there and participate, and the number of students who were also a part of being able to sit with their families and see, that makes a real difference. And families can be in their home environment as that's happening. And how many did you get registered today?
In one day, we had over 20 students register. So it's pretty exciting.
So the registration process is getting attention to be able to start making that happen early on. So kudos to Clemens and the team there for being able to make that happen, and also Diane Prevey at Blodgett for her role in being able to make sure that we can address the needs of our Blodgett students as well. The other is the same evening was an autism resource fair that took place in the Philomath Elementary School gym. Michelle Nielsen, who is our autism consultant from the ESD, has had this as a pet project of hers for a number of years. And the interesting thing, when we did it the last time about 6 years ago in Philomath, we may have had a dozen helpers or agencies around the table to be able to offer support to families and things like that. There were over 25 support tables there the other night with references from all over the place. We had the STEM Hub there, we had ESD representatives there, we had the swimming program for our special needs students that happens at Oregon State. I mean, it was just packed with people who were there to be able to provide resource and opportunity. And it was well attended. It was very much appreciated. We had people from Philomath, obviously, but we got some people from Corvallis and Albany and Lebanon, and it was open to be, I mean, it's open to the region to be able to make sure that happens. But to have that many people, when you're used to saying the word vendor, when you have that kind of a fair, and they're not vendors, they're service providers. And they're wanting to reach out to be able to offer support to students and their families. So it was just a rich night and two pretty excellent opportunities for our families.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Susan? Okay. Move on to the financial report. Jennifer.
Thanks. I'm gonna clarify the budget committee meeting was last week, but it's been a bit of a blur.
Well, I messed up kinder orientation, so
Yeah, so we did that and talked about how the committee, what the funding looks like for next year. So with that information, we're trying to build a proposed budget for our first official budget meeting, May 11th. So we'll be working on that, trying to get that to over the next 2 weeks. Hopefully present a reasonable budget at that point. I have the financial reports in there in the board packet for you. You'll see it on the pages with the financial information, the ending fund balance is getting down there that we're predicted to start next year with. That will change a little bit as the year ends, as we close out any open encumbrances, but I don't anticipate it being a whole lot higher than what it shows on those graphs. So, sometimes, yeah.
I had a question on the page on looking at enrollment. From March to April, PHS dropped 33 students. Why such a huge drop in 1 month?
I think some of that has to do with how enrollment has been gathered from month to month. Some of those were part-time students that maybe were listed as full-time students on one report versus the other. So if you look at the part-time enrollment, it changed drastically too. So I think there was, so I think it was just a little bit about how it was reported.
Okay.
So overall, the high school didn't change a huge amount, but the traditional end of year.
Gotcha.
And there was the change in the trimester right there too. So third trimester,
Do we have anybody to graduate early or anything like that?
there have been quite a few this year that have asked to graduate early. And the academy, I think, has had some finish up early too.
and they've had some GED completers as well.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
On the general fund revenue dashboard summary, just both the local sources and state sources are higher by a decent bit than last year. Is that higher by the amount we anticipated? Because then I also see we're at 103% for our local sources. So is
That would be the local option money that
Okay.
would have coming in higher than I had predicted in the
Okay.
budget for last year. So
okay?
that has helped offset that difference that we started the year with and the
Yeah.
ending fund balance.
Okay.
Um,
And then the state sources difference, we anticipated that.
the state,
We're just like, it's what, like $1 million higher or something, or so I don't know, I can't really tell from the graph, but.
yeah, because our state school fund increased
Okay,
throughout this year also with,
yeah,
I updated our enrollment at one point. So it
Right,
increased
okay,
what we're doing,
okay.
and they've done some rebalancing, so it ended up higher than what was estimated when I did the budget.
okay, thank you.
You'll also see in the board packet a couple of facility projects. One we have for approval and one we have for discussion. So when we get to that point, talk about that. We invited Joy to be here to help answer any questions on these ones as well. That's it, unless you have any other questions.
I did have one question. When I was looking through, and I can't see, packet page 26. And I noticed it last month also, but under the student activity summary report, the sports or athletic officials, excuse me, is that pretty normal for it to be an almost $11,000 negative balance?
So we get to a point during the year, at the end of the year, where we transfer from that athletic officials account into the athletics account, we offset it every year. Because the revenue comes in, we put it in that athletic officials account. When we get revenue at the gate, at the end of the year.
So we,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we balance it out at the end of the year, we do our journal entry, so it just hasn't happened yet. So it does look a little scary. We'll fix it.
All right, thank you. That was my only question.
Yeah.
It's a good question. Okay, no more questions, so we'll move on to the next one. D is strategy and discussion, and we will discuss the student representative to the board. So I don't know.
I can start with some thoughts and then I would like to hear Jackson's thoughts.
Okay.
And we talked about this several months ago. So I'm sorry we haven't talked about it since then, but you know, here we are. I talked to Jackson and I talked to a couple faculty members at the high school. Karen and I talked a little bit. And I think what I heard from a lot of folks was that it would be good for, in the future, the position to be more closely incorporated with ASB, even if it's not necessarily a part of ASB, make sure that the student who holds the position is part of the ASB class, so that they have some time dedicated to working on the duties of their position, and then they also have staff support from the ASB advisor. I think that's been a little bit of a challenge, just, you know, having some support in navigating the role and, you know, being connected with the resources they need. So I think that would be something we would be looking to do with the next representative. And then I think the unanswered question that, you know, I'd like to hear your thoughts on, as well as the board's, is I think no one was a huge fan of our selection process last time. And so then there's been some suggestion to see if, you know, do we want to just try to figure out how to do our selection process better, or do we want to involve, you know, like ASB in the selection process more, or the student body in the selection process more? I think as we discussed going through this last time, there's pros and cons to all of that. But I think we would like to avoid some of the same processes we went through last time. So we could, I mean, you know, the new ASB president will be elected, as Brooke said, next month. So if we wanted to try to tie it in with that, we could, you know, get on top of that. Or, you know, is it something that we want to have be elected? Is it something we want to have still be appointed? I would be curious to hear thoughts on that, and then we can go from there. But Jackson, what are your thoughts on your job?
I don't really have any.
Okay.
I would try the same selection process we had last time, and that seemed
Okay.
good. And if you do it through ASB, we have like the co-president do this.
Yeah.
So then whenever they elect president, co-president, it also does this.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I guess any thoughts from the board on sort of, I guess, any strong feelings?
I don't have any strong feelings. I do think it's important that it's meaningful for the students
Right.
at the high school. And so if, again, it doesn't have to or need to be an ASB officer at all, but that seems to be where you get a lot of the students that are really interested in leadership and interested in being involved, or leadership positions in other clubs, in other, it doesn't have, again, it doesn't have to be ASB, but I think it's somebody that is interested in leadership experience, I think would be useful. So, but yeah, I don't have any strong feelings rather than this.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, I'm not necessarily advocating for the position to be an ASB position, but just that they would have that same class period in the classroom to work on student representative duties, and then the ASB advisor would also be sort of the advisor for the student representative. So, I mean, we could make it officially part of ASB if we want, but I don't have strong feelings on that.
I don't, just personally, I wouldn't think that we'd want to have to tie it to ASB, because there's going to be a really good student that would want to do that that's not tied to ASB, and I hate to cut them out because they're not associated with ASB. So
Okay.
I think we leave it open to everybody. You know, that's just my personal opinion.
I think there would be some value in discussing the opportunity for students to elect the person who sits on the board, just as we're elected by our community, to have the student position elected by students. With that said, it would be a similar process of application, I would imagine, that we could go through, and then they could put it to a school vote instead of it being chosen by the board.
So are you suggesting like we take the applications, sort of make our selection like pool of selection and then put that out, or just? Because at that point, we don't even need to be involved in even getting the applications, right? Like.
More
Because
like
I guess I
a
would-
voter pamphlet, kind of like a ballot that would be put together.
I would see, we would have to get more than applications in one, of course, but I think there could be a combination, sort of, where we can take a selection of the people that applied and put them forward to a vote of their peers.
Yeah, I think we want to be careful, we don't have too many, like, we wouldn't want to put have 10 candidates out there, because it just would so split the vote.
Yeah, no, I'd not narrow it down and.
Yeah, some way of narrowing it down to, 3 or 4 candidates, and then have it voted on by the student body. Yeah. So it'd be a matter of how do we do that, how do we get a, or what if we only get one candidate? Well, that's what it is, but.
Sometimes that's how you get for school board position too, so.
So, any thoughts on that?
Any thoughts on that, Jackson? Okay.
Narrow it down to 3, make it easy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just from my experience at the high school, and you can concur or not, but I wouldn't be too worried about too many people. It was crazy when we had a contested election for ASB president. So I think just the fact that you would have to run would, for better or worse, limit the pool. I was going to say scare people off, which might be true.
We don't want to do that.
Right, but I do think just that, that's a different experience than being interviewed by the board. So that may change who would be interested. I don't know, what are your thoughts? You look like you got a thought there.
Yeah, since you kind of spearheaded last year, would you be interested in kind of spearheading the changes, the language changes?
Sure, I
Bring
mean,
it back
I want to
to
make
the
sure I
board.
do it with you. And if you want, you kind of brought this on before I even was a part of the board, but.
You're doing it.
Okay,
No, I will recall.
okay, but yeah, I'm happy to do whatever needs to
I
be
would
done.
assume we would want to get Mark involved in some way. Principal Mark Henderson.
Yeah, and I've been talking a little bit with Dave Dunham too. I just want to make sure he's aware, just if we're assigning him a new role of advising the student representative, I want to make sure he's aware that we're doing that too.
And make sure that Jackson has a
Yes,
voice in it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess
You're
just.
not being put on the spot.
I guess just the takeaway then, as far as sort of elected, because I feel like if we want it to be elected or somehow involved in the elections, that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So I need to get on that with the high school like this week. Just if we need to slip that, do we want to do that or?
I don't know that we have enough time
Right, I
to
mean-
allow applicants to gather their application, fill it out, and
Right.
still make it in
I
time
mean,
for that
How
election.
about if we have it at the board meeting next month, by that time? Is that
Do a
doable?
separate election, separate from ASB. I mean, they do little elections all the time for things, for, prom court,
I
for
guess-
this, that, the other thing, so.
As far as me acting on behalf of the board, just if I call the high school tomorrow and they're like, oh, no, the best way for us to do this would just be do it at the same time as the ASB elections, which happens before.
That's great.
Is it okay if I just go ahead and make that happen?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think it's doable, honestly.
Okay,
I mean, we have at least a good application form that we can sort of tweak if we need to. At least we have an application.
Are they still doing video announcements every day at the high school?
okay.
Have Mr. Dunham run an announcement.
I think you and I should make a special appearance.
Might not be good blood on Monday.
What?
While you're giving blood on that.
See, that's visionary. That's the kind of leadership. Okay, so just to make sure I'm understanding everything right, I will get in touch with the high school as soon as I can, and we would like it to be elected by the students as long as that's logistically feasible, and I will figure out with Jackson sort of what and Mr. Henderson and everyone what would make the most sense to do that, and it's okay if I just go ahead and check without checking.
We're turning it over to you.
All right.
You and Karen.
Yes.
And then
Okay.
just the last little piece of this, and I'm not asking you or putting you on the spot in this moment. One thing that I would very much appreciate is feedback from you on what the experience has been like for you in the position, so that we can continue to grow and make sure if there's anything that needs to change, that we're able to do that. And that to be an email. You don't have to present that in a board meeting. Yeah, take your time, think about it. But I think that could benefit us in this working relationship as we move forward.
And it would definitely benefit the next student representative.
Yeah.
So,
Well, just hearing that, would that be, like a topic for next board meeting? If he can have that done by next week? Can I give him a little homework for the next month?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. All right.
that sounds good.
Takes care of that. So we will move on to E, discussion and action items. Number 1, Joey, you're up. I believe it's a high school painting project.
Any questions?
See, we have
What color?
Are they gonna do the paint and the stain, or is this just paint
Paint and stain, yeah,
Paint
on
and
the whole
stain.
building.
for this one price?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so all the contractors that bid on the project have worked for us in the past. They're all really good. I was a little bit surprised to see the spread and the
I was
prices.
gonna say, did you get any sense on why there's such a, 121 to 196, and then the 155 in the middle, so I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
So I anticipated 130, to be honest with you. So the 121 and the 155, that didn't really surprise me.
yeah.
The other one, I was kind of blown away because they were pretty low the last time they bid stuff for us. So, but they all do really good work. I'm confident we're gonna get a good job out of all of them. But the one we're going with, hopefully, Mikowski, they painted the middle school, was it last year or the year before last? And Blodgett, and they did a really good job. I mean, it looks great. So I think they're just a smaller crew and they just don't have a lot of overhead, so.
Yeah. What, this high bid on here, what I've found through my experience in, life in general and different things, bid processes, if they really don't want it, they're gonna bid, if you're gonna give it to them, they're gonna make a lot of money on it, type of thing, so.
Yeah, they might have a lot of jobs and
Yeah,
they have to prioritize this.
They wanna put a bid in, but they really don't want the job, or don't
Right.
need the job, or whatever it is, but.
Yeah, we had another contractor actually that backed out because they got too busy just in the meantime. They were like, we're booked. We're booked all the way through the summer and into the fall, so
Yeah.
we're not even gonna submit a bid because they didn't want to get it at that point and be like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Try to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody got any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I so moved. We accept the bid as presented to us for the painting of just the high school?
Yeah.
Yeah. From Mikowski for $120,000.
There we go. A second on that?
I'll second that.
All right, been moved.
My elbows popped
I was like,
out.
I can't figure out what you were doing over there.
I moved my arm to second it, and my elbow was like, no. Don't spin.
All right, well, it's been moved and seconded. So all those in favor? Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Joey.
Thanks, Joey. And going back here, the CPS covered play area.
So this one has been on the docket for a few years. We've allocated resources out of our ESSER funding, the capital projects approval for that, and the Clemens Foundation money. We put it out for bid once and had to deny the bids because they were above what we had allocated. We put it out for bid again, modified the design, tried to make it work. Got more bids, 2 bids again, just this week, and they were still higher than the resources that we have allocated by $200,000. So we came with discussion topics in mind of if we need to try to find resources to continue working on this project and accept one of the bids as it came in, or do you have other suggestions for moving on? We needed to present this to the board, so we had a clear plan of action.
That's something that needs to be done, right? Materials costs probably aren't going down anytime soon. I think we've got to bite the bullet and do it. I don't know if there are any other grants we can look for, any other, volunteer labor for who knows. I mean, we've had a lot of very good community involvement in projects in the past, but at some point we've just got to pay for it. So.
Go ahead. I have a thought. Sure. I don't know, but this is just a suggestion. I don't know what we have available in the Kings Valley sale, but I mean, that was for a real estate investment type thing. So in my opinion, that would be a good use of those funds. That's just my opinion. You're investing back into the school. We know this is a priority. We need it. Abby will kill me if we don't get it. So, I mean, it's really important for the kids. They got to get out there and play and get their energy out.
Teachers need them out of the classroom too.
Teachers.
As a first grade teacher, I have a kidney, I can sell it. Even not in my classroom.
Did you get that, Brad?
The Kings Valley sale fund right now, I got that information, has $320,000 in it currently. By the end of the sale, as we get all the payments, we were on track to accumulate $685,000. We did take $100,000 of that already for projects in 17, 18, and 18, 19. So by the end, we should have $585,000. Currently, we have $320,000.
And this would be taking 200,000 from it, if we did that?
That's the amount that we need to fund above what we have already. So,
Susan, thoughts?
We did talk about, Joey and Jennifer and I, looking for recess, playground, fitness kinds of grant opportunities to be able to then say, if we move forward with the project and can commit, dependent upon grant funding cycles, could we pay for it out of a grant, or could we replace what we've taken out of the Kings Valley Fund, if that's what we chose to do, to be able to make that happen, but to kind of look in earnest to see, even if we could get a part of that, to be able to do some replacement. My thing was, when in talking to Joey and Jennifer, the architect in conversations with them didn't seem to bat an eye about the bids. And so if we talked about not accepting these bids and going back out again, and the work time that goes into it, it really doesn't sound like there's great hope that there would be any significantly lower bids to be able to work with. The other part of it, and I haven't even talked to Joey about this, would be if it's not connected to the building and instead stands alone, but there are issues with that also.
So it's not connected to the building right now, the way it's designed. It is going to be totally freestanding and engineered that way, but it's flashed to the building. And because of the egress out of the gym and out of the hallway, we have to have fire sprinklers, just like the one at the elementary school. Yeah, it's silly. I mean, that would save us $60,000 right off the top. So we either have to totally change the location and put it out like in the field, which is gonna cost us $30,000 to change all the engineering and everything.
And then Abby's got you and me both. So.
And it doesn't look good. I just don't think that's the best option. It's not a good fit. It would look good against the building. It's, that will get used well there. So.
Well, frankly, we want sprinklers on something that we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars
Oh,
on just
sure.
in case
It's
there's
all
a
steel,
fire.
but,
So,
Plus, Joey, if you put it against the building, that also gives you protection from exposure to the weather and stuff. And
Right.
make it more usable. A lot of times, if you set it out by itself, if the wind's blowing, whatever's gonna come in under that, and where they got it sited at, that building is gonna diminish probably 90% of the weather that would come that way. So to me, I wouldn't even look at anything like that. But going back to the Kings Valley funds, I was on the board when that deal was made, and it was specifically to set aside that money for land type purchases that the district may need in the future. That way it gives us the district, a kind of a leg up on funding if we see an opportunity that comes along that we need to purchase some ground for another school, for whatever needs to be done. If we do decide to do that, I would like to see the district continue looking at additional sources of revenue to help pay for that, so we can put that money back into that account.
Right.
To put it back there and kind of hopefully keep it for what we intend to, or originally earmarked that money for, was for, purchase down the road of if the district, grows and needs more land for a school or something, then we have at least a start, if we need matching funds or whatever we may come up with. So, yeah, Christopher.
I guess as far as just timeline for this, like, for the quotes we have and everything, like when do we need to start, like as far as getting grants and everything, it takes a year to get a grant, I'm assuming these quotes won't apply.
Yeah, no, they're good till Monday.
Oh, great, okay.
Well, but what I'm saying is, I got nothing against taking the money out of this account to pay for it up front.
Right.
But don't give up just because we paid for it, okay, now we don't need to look for any other additional resources to help pay for it. And part of it may be that, well, you've already got it paid for, we're not gonna help you with that, so you can put money back into a different account. I don't know how all that works, but I just don't want to lose sight of the fact that money from that sale was for acquisition of more ground if the district needs it.
Well, maybe Jennifer can, budget in, out of this budget that we don't have, some money to go back into that account, annually, so that we're trying to get there,
Yeah, but I just don't want to lose sight of the fact that that's what that money was originally, and that's part of the reason why the board went ahead and accepted the deal on that, is that money would go back into an account for future purchases of land that the district needs to expand if that time ever came, so.
I have a couple of possibilities in the grant world but their deadlines are anywhere through now and June. And so there are some things on the radar for us to look at.
Okay.
To be able to really seek to close that gap.
Okay, all right. No, I just wanted to throw that out there because that was very important to the board at that time that deal was made, so.
So what do we need in terms of a motion?
I think we just need a discussion and approval possibly to allocate those KV funds to this project, because we didn't have that many resources allocated.
And to then be looking for ways to replenish those funds, sooner rather than later,
And does that, I don't know enough about this, can we do that? Like if we allocate $200,000 from the KV fund and then we get a grant in August, can we do that shuffle of cups or?
That's something I might have to research, but I don't know why we couldn't, because we can transfer into that fund if we choose to.
Okay.
So
some of that happened with the tennis courts.
Yeah.
The tennis courts were done before, and there are some funders that will say, no, we're not going to fund a project that's already done because we can't publicize it and we don't see what we're getting and those kinds of things. But there are some that, you know, if we could get our hands on early,
Okay.
that it would be nice. And we may not be able to backfill the hole.
What would be the timeline on the construction estimated at this point?
So I think they said that the building wouldn't ship until the end of August. So we'd be into the school year with them still working on it. They could have the concrete done and all the footings and everything like that done and ready to go.
Oh, it's not the bad weather time, so.
Right, I mean, but there'll be kids there.
Sure.
We'll have love to think about that, like, what does recess look like?
Oh, true.
Well, and we wouldn't have paid 100% of the costs before the building is completed anyway, I would hope. That we would never do that.
Right.
And so the money wouldn't have been spent from the fund yet if we're able to get a grant where we have the
Sure.
money in hand before, but, so.
And another positive, if I may interrupt, just a minute. We have the $50,000 grant from the Clemens Foundation, plus highly likely a $10,000 grant from the Benton Community Foundation. So if we go out and solicit for more grant money, we have some other entities that are putting into it, so we are have more likelihood of receiving grants.
Grants like to give more money if you already have grants. It's one of those interesting things about the world.
Chris, just to clarify, what is the total cost then?
The bids that we received were around 600,000. I didn't present the bids for approval because we didn't have the funding.
Right. But we could approve one, or tonight, like what are we trying to do?
We're approving that we can allocate the
Okay.
resources to it, not the bids.
But then,
But the bid
Well, we have
expires
to-
on Monday.
We have to provide an intent to award by Monday, according to bid or contract language. So time-wise, I'll have to think about how that works for board approval and project and contract research. But I did not want to bring that in front of the board to approve the bids without knowing that we have the resources to do it.
Well, if we take the money from the Kings Valley sale and put towards that, then we have it covered then? Is that what I'm understanding?
That should be enough to cover it.
Okay, so we can vote tonight to award the bid to whoever it is that's gonna do the work?
We didn't bring that information to the board for approval, we just wanted to make sure we have the resources available. So we need to review the bids just a bit more to make sure that they're appropriate, but that's where the bids were, so we figured that's what we needed to have that allocated resources for.
So we'd just be allocating the money towards that, but not awarding a bid to somebody?
Right, because we didn't want to award anything until we knew that the board
Okay,
would
all
allow that.
right, well, no, just so that everybody, the 5 board members understand what we're doing tonight, so.
But does that mean then we have to meet again and approve the bid before Monday?
Oh, so we'll sign the
Oh, okay.
intent to award.
Right.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Based on, I guess, your blessing, I don't know.
Yeah.
But all we're doing right now, I guess what I'm gonna be looking for is a motion to allocate the resources for this project.
Yes, please.
Okay,
So I move that we allocate the resources needed. I don't have the exact dollar amount, but up to the deficit between the two, between the current allocation and the needed allocation. How many times can I say allocation in a sentence? By pulling the funds from the aforementioned real estate transaction, thank you. Feels weird to continually call it the Kings Valley real estate transaction, but I guess that's what it is. With the thinking that additional grants would then offset or be transferred into that fund to refill it a bit. That's the most difficult to type motion that's been made in the history of this board, I think, so my apologies.
okay, so it's been moved to second. My first question is, does all the board members understand just what was said?
Yep.
I think so.
Okay, well,
I use every
I
word
think
that's
it's very important that we all understand
Yes.
what we're asking to do here.
Sure.
Yeah, because I just want to make clear, as important as I think this is, I do have concerns about spending any sort of general fund money at this time, or with money we don't have. This is budget cycle and negotiation cycle. So good that we're transferring money with the intent to replace it. I do understand. Yes.
Yes, that is a concern, that we're spending this kind of money on a structure that we haven't had, that I won't say that everything's just fine without it, but, it would be, no, I'm serious. I'm not saying that it's fine without it, but we've lasted so many years without it that it, with all the other budget constraints that we have right now, I just want to make sure that it's a wise and prudent spending of the money at this time. Not that we don't need it. I mean, yeah, it's definitely needed. Would be greatly appreciated. Them kids would love to be able to go outside and play and not play in the rain. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of the repercussions that we could hear, of spending money like this in this particular time.
I guess, but this would be only ESSER and Kings Valley real estate funds, neither of which we would spend on staff
Correct.
or operations.
Yes, I understand that as well. I just wanted to just throw it out there that I can be behind this because it's not coming from.
Yeah.
That'd be a different discussion. I think we really did have to look at.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So, okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Discussion.
Keep your kidneys.
It was a very good discussion.
Yes.
Thank you.
Speed signs on 19th Street. Did I see new speed signs on there? Are you gonna have new ones or what?
No, what this is referring to is the flashing signs that no longer flash the speed and don't work. And Benton County has reached out and said, do we want those fixed or do we want those pulled down? And it will be no cost to us.
When you're driving down 19th,
They just wanna know.
it says you're doing 24 miles an hour and you should only be doing 20, that's
Right,
right.
and those aren't working.
It was last time I drove through.
I was gonna say, they were working last time I went through there, but maybe it's been a while since I've been through there. But
I think we should fix them for cost of.
They work. The speed sign.
Yeah.
The one that says.
The one that says how fast you're going.
Not just.
Yeah.
yeah, I thought they were
Literally
working
within the
last
last
time I went
week,
through
it was
there.
working when I drove through there, because they told me I was going too fast.
If it's working, then these emails are,
Well,
they would have been
if it's
anyway.
no cost to us, and they think there's a problem, fix it, sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, if they wanna fix it, then I'd say let them fix it.
Yep, and if it's already all fixed,
Yeah, maybe they've already
Okay.
fixed it.
yep,
I don't know. So, Christopher.
that was easy.
I was gonna make a motion, but I really don't. I guess, just a point of clarification. Why isn't that the city? Like, that's not our problem.
That's county.
Right, so why are they asking us? Like, that's not on, like.
Well, because it's for the school.
Sidewalk.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, the whole purpose is because it's in the school zone.
Right, okay.
I think if they've
yeah.
got people working on them too, it's kind of like, are they working for you and do you want to keep them, or do you want us to just take them down while we're in the area?
Okay.
If it's not something.
I mean, anytime someone will fix something, no cost to us.
Yep.
Oh, you, okay,
I know.
all right.
So we paid for those originally.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Safe routes to school, and so
Gotcha.
I used to maintain them, and then, got the county to take over,
Nice.
they were paying,
Good
so
work.
let them keep fixing them. I
Sure,
don't know.
sure.
I applaud you for that. So there's no action needed by us for that.
No.
I can just go ahead and move forward, and it may, like I said, it may already be done, it sounds like.
We'll just direct Susan to contact Benton County and work it out with them. Okay, next one is second reading on policies.
We have 10 policies.
What's that?
There are 10 of them.
Some of
Yeah,
them are
it-
really long.
Well, it shouldn't take very long to approve them, but I want to do them one at a time because I have some questions on some of them, and somebody else might have questions on other ones. But,
Starting on page 33.
we'll do the AC-AR first, and I'll entertain a motion to approve that if that's what's so desired. Christopher?
I move that we adopt AC-AR as amended.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay, been moved and seconded now for discussion. I had a question and I sent an email to Susan. And my thing with these policies, and it's not just this one, but it's all of them, is the timing. Are we gonna go school days? Are we gonna go calendar days? Work days? I mean, I want some clarification because I think all of our policies, all the board policies, not just these, should reflect consistency and whether we're dealing with school days, calendar days, work days, and what a definition of the school day is as far as, who's here, who's not here, does it still count as a school day? Or if we want to just go with work days, whatever language we want to do, I just want it to be consistent so that people aren't reading it and then going, geez, when do I gotta have that done by? So, because like this one here, the first one I see is 10 school days. Get down here, step 3, it's within 30 calendar days.
Yes.
So, I mean, you got two different things in the same policy, and to me, it could be kind of confusing of how much time you have to get things done.
It's, when, on something with like 30 calendar days, that's just sort of, 1 month in essence.
Yeah.
Whereas if you said 30 school days, depending upon the time of year, that could be.
Well, it could be a long time.
You got days off.
2 weeks of Christmas, you got spring break, you got,
I think in step 3, when they're talking about the board's decision, and they talk about it in calendar days, I think it might be because boards don't really operate on school day calendars.
And boards meet once a month, typically at least, so.
So, I mean, I have no problem with changing all that language so that it matches up, but I think, in my mind, that is why its board is a 30 calendar day.
I just want to throw it out there and have a conversation, so that's
and I think we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's how I read that. And we can't operate outside of the school day calendar, or even a work day calendar, because
okay.
maybe this isn't our job.
But there's other policies in here that rather than 10 school days, it says working days, so.
Right, so school days, working days, maybe we should sort of make a definition of which is which, and stick one over the other.
Yeah, and then define what classifies as a school day and what, if that's the way we go, or if we go working days, we have a definition of what a working day is.
And I think we started to kind of run into this the other night when we were talking at the, is that some people operate within the same school district. There's people operating under a school calendar, school days.
Yep.
And there's people operating under work days.
Well, yeah.
Because their contracts are different, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
I think mostly when you run into that as an issue is when you have short time periods, like 5 days, 10 days. When you got long time, like later on in that one, you got a 30 days, a 90 days kind of thing. When you get into those kind of where it's a month or more, then I think it's perfectly appropriate to just have days and not distinguish, not start throwing these.
Oh, but that gets us in trouble, it really does. The other night when we talked at the negotiations meeting, it became clear that the difference in school day, that there was an understanding, it sounded like, from the PEA bargaining leadership that school day meant students present.
Okay.
My understanding of school day was that school day meant a day that in the regular calendar where students were there or where staff worked.
Right.
The PEA contention was that work day added in those teacher work days. And that was the distinction between school versus work.
Gotcha.
For their determination. And so I agree, we just need to land on what's consistent and what we want to use.
So
I think, in that case, I think workday would make more sense. Whether students are there or not, if the staff is working, then that would be a legitimate day to consider.
Christopher.
I guess things like 30 days, 90 days, stuff like that, when I just read days, I just read it as days. Right. I guess I don't necessarily feel like we need to put the word calendar in there. Like, I feel like if I read 30 days, I do not.
You
I think
need
it has
to
to
have
say
calendar in there,
says school
because if
days
you don't,
before.
is it a working day or is it a school day? And somebody somewhere is gonna say, well, it says 30 days, sure, but I went on 30 working days, which extends it past the 30 calendar days, so.
I guess, I don't know, to me, when I read 90 days, my brain is like, oh, is that 90 school days? I'm like, well, it just says 90 days.
Well,
But we have to put it in there for everybody's brain.
Okay, no, that's fair.
I think that for those ones, the longer time periods, it makes sense. It's those that are 5 days.
A 10-day,
Then
5
when you
days.
say 5 days, and we want to be realistic about being responsive, that leaves a lot up to interpretation. So really, it's those ones that are, you have 5 days. Well, that, if it's 5 calendar days, and we do something on a Friday, then.
And if Monday's a holiday, you've lost 3 days right there.
Well, if it's calendar days, then you
No, I mean,
you lose your time to be able to do that.
So I think the solution to this issue would be to include, I think there's already definitions and glossaries of terms within the policies. We could include a glossary of terms that defines exactly what makes a school day. So that would have to be determined, is a school day when students are present, or is a school day when employees are present? Which one of those, and then include that definition, and that way, and the same thing with calendar day. It literally means any day on a calendar is a calendar day. And if we have that definition included, then that should cover it. I don't want to get on the granular policy by policy level, because every single one of our policies that has any sort of time component says either school days, working days, or calendar days, and it would require us to review and potentially reapprove hundreds of policies if we make a change like that. So I think that the most effective use of our energy would be clearly defining what those things mean, so that's universally applied across every policy where those things come up. So I don't know if we need to do that today, or if that's something that we could bring to the next board meeting for a second reading and approval, would be a policy glossary addendum.
So let me see if I'm understanding what you're saying. You're saying a school day and a work day would be the same, we just have to define them the same?
We have to decide that.
Okay.
But we could do that in our policy meeting, because Susan has far more insight into the determinations.
Okay,
based on
let me
role.
ask you this, if we decided to go with work days, because it's when the building's open and people are working there, rather than school days, can we just go, we're gonna change our policies, the wording in our policies to.
In all of our policies?
Yeah, and blanket to, in things shorter than 15 days and shorter to working days, and leave anything 16 days and longer to calendar days?
I feel like, and I might be misremembering, so please step in if I am, but I feel like OSBA last year told us to change it to school days. And so a bunch of our policies last year that we made updates and changes to, we're changing it to say school days.
Well, then we need
Do you
to.
recall that? No. I just feel like there were like 10, 15 policies where that was the only change, was to change it to say school days. Maybe it was
In my mind,
days.
when all my years of teaching, school days when the students are there, work day is when staff is there.
Yeah.
So it may or may not be a school day. Most work days are school days, not all school days are work days.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea of what the lift would be for you to go through all of our policies and change it to make sure that instead of school day, it says working day? That would.
It would be a lot.
Would it be?
Yeah, it would be a lot.
Yeah. It's not like a find and replace.
That would be a few working days.
Yes. At least.
Exactly.
That would be my concern. Now, we maybe could email OSBA and ask them if they would be willing to make all those changes for us, but I would feel like they would charge us to do that.
I don't know, and that may be included in the service that we already paid for too.
It might be. I don't know. I know almost any time-based policy we've approved so far this year has said school days.
Yeah, well, I just happen to see it on several of these policies that are in here, and have different times, and, yes, Christopher.
So I guess just to clarify that, if we are talking about school days, like something like a harassment complaint, if you have 30 school days and someone files a harassment complaint in June, does that not get resolved until the end of August?
30 days is referring to 30 calendar days.
Yeah.
But I asked, but I asked the same thing, and I was told that,
But it doesn't say.
it's on hold until
And that's what we
the year starts over.
Yeah.
Also, a point of order, I've had 2 water bottles and 2 cups of coffee, so I'm gonna just.
Is that a point of order?
Point of order, okay.
For the person.
Excuse me.
So yeah, I guess we just need to figure out how we want the wording in these
Okay.
before we approve them, if we want working days, school days, and then what a school day is, and what a working day is.
And then find out what OSBA means, because if they mean, when they say school day, if they really mean working day. then
If you would like
no.
to delegate that responsibility to Michelle and I to be able to look into and see what makes sense to come back with as well.
That would be fine if you want to do that.
So do we want to, like, approve these policies with that, you know, qualification, that we may come back and change the designation of what school day is or working day?
Or those ones that write, I mean, you could do that, or the other thing to do would be those ones that have time limits in them,
Just table them for
that we
right now.
table them and look at them cleaned up in May.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want to approve them now and then find out that we need to change school days to working days would work better, so then we have to go back and redo everything.
If we change school days to working days, we're gonna have to go back and reapprove all of the policies that we made
Well,
that change to anyway.
Yeah, but at least we'll have a conversation, figure out, Susan and Michelle can find out what, you know,
What makes the most sense?
what a school day is, if a school day is anytime the teachers are there or employees are there, or if it's when kids are there, you know, we need a clear definition of what it is.
Yeah. Right now in our policy.
And I also think that it's probably worthwhile looking at as well, because the policy applies to public as well as, you know, it's a public complaint or harassment policy as well, so any person, so someone who might not be familiar with the school calendar, I don't really want to see us going back through and changing everything to working day, but working day makes more sense in that.
Well, a working day would make more sense to me, but that's just me, that's the way my brain operates, but, while we're on this,
If any
there's.
person,
Huh?
again, if any person, including students, staff, visitors, and third parties may file a complaint. So I think it would be helpful if it wasn't based on the school date.
Yeah, we'll figure out kind of a system or a plan that makes the most sense.
And then I noticed some of these, like the first paragraph has within 10 school days, and the 10 is a 10. Then you go down here, step 3, within 5 school days, and 5 is written out in 5.
It's because these policies are written in AP style, and AP style is any number between 1 and 9 is written out, and any number that is 10 and above is the number.
Oh, okay. Well,
Worse.
I don't know anything about that,
I unfortunately know a lot about that,
Okay.
but that is why.
but, okay.
It's a weird one, but it is a one.
All
It's
right.
a one.
Okay, so, we're gonna table any of these that have dates in them. And then just,
It can say school or work, so we're tabling A with this first one, which is the
Yeah.
ACAR.
yeah,
That one's gonna be tabled.
and
EFA, which is the next one.
let's see, JFCF has dates in it, and the KLAR has dates in it. You'll have a school day, calendar date.
Okay.
So those are the 3 that I found.
EFA references school days.
Which one?
EFA. But it doesn't have a date, it just is like during the school day.
Well, yeah,
That
that's,
would be for
Oh,
a school day.
yeah,
It actually says school day means for the purpose of competitive food standards implementation, so it distracts it.
yeah, but I'm talking dates to have things done, you have so many days to,
Yes, okay.
you know, and we're trying to figure out if it's a school day or working day calendar.
So we're gonna table the ACAR. Which
Yeah.
is the other 2?
There's 3
The-
ARs, so I'm-
Yeah, the 3 A.
The 3 ARs, okay, so the
Yeah.
JFCFAR.
and then
KLR.
KLR.
And the IGBAF,
I don't know if IGBF, BAF has dates in it or not.
it has,
I don't think that, I think just the three that I had there,
there's no changes to dates, but it just says the district conducts IEP meetings within 30 calendar days of determination.
Calendar days are fine.
well, yeah, that's fine.
It's the school day versus working day.
Yeah, school day, working day, calendar day, that if you've got all, any of them combinations, then we need to decide what's the choice, but we're gonna table the ACAR, and then we'll go to the EFA local wellness program. I don't think that has any time constraints in it, so I'll be willing to entertain a motion for that.
I will move that we accept the policy EFA.
Second,
I would second that.
okay, all those in favor? Okay, motion passes 5-0.
IGBA.
Special education, individualized education program.
On page 50.
Yeah. What is the main,
COVID-19.
because this was just approved in 22.
It's all the
Children to students,
Yes, towards the end of the policy with a bunch of stuff about COVID.
Individualized.
about COVID, okay.
The recovery services information.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm assuming it's this language just from like OSBA.
All of the policy changes that are put before us are primarily language changes from OSBA. Occasionally we'll have bracketed decisions to make.
Okay.
Generally, this has all been written by OSBA.
Okay, 12A, we have the change is glitch.
Where?
12A, under transfer students.
Oh, yeah.
It says Ian State.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Yeah.
What was that supposed to be? Because if Ian is there and then it's crossed out, I don't understand.
Which page is that? I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time.
Page 58.
58.
Oh, it should be for, it should be in-state, A should be in-state, and B should be out of state.
Right. The N is in blue crossed out.
Yeah, but
It should just be N.
But it should be in-state for A and out of
Right,
state.
that makes sense, I just wanted to be
Yeah,
sure.
very good.
That was the last page of that one, so.
I hope all the high schoolers are watching, so they see how fun it is to be.
So is there, was there a motion for this one? I don't think there was there, was there?
I also move
A
that we
second.
accept policy, whatever, lost at the beginning.
IGBAF.
IGBAF-AR.
And I second that.
Yep. Okay, been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
IGBHD.
Okay, then we'll go back to IGBHD. It is program exemptions. Page 59.
Very short policy.
Yeah. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve IGBHD.
Okay.
IGBHD, yes, I read that correctly.
I'll second that.
All right, been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. IKC, page 61. Class rankings. Now, this has been before us before that we had some discussion on, is that correct?
Yes, this is the third time we have brought it before the board.
And everything,
We changed, I think the main change that we were looking to was that selection committee is described in the student handbook. Was that one of the changes that we?
At the last board meeting, changes were requested. It was not clear what those changes were, so I requested that they be sent via email, and I did not receive them. So we are presenting it again as it was in the last board meeting. And I would like to move forward with a vote this time possible.
Okay. Well, it doesn't have to be voted in favor, so it just depends on what everybody wants to do.
Can I amend it here?
Yes.
Okay. Also,
There has been one change over the various movings through to strike building principal.
right,
But I believe that's how it was last time also, and then there was an additional area of change that I'm not sure what it was supposed to
The only one I
be. Did
remember.
we change building principal in our policy meetings last time? I think we did, actually.
I thought that was the
It
change.
was a suggestion.
Yes, and then there was a pending other suggestion that we didn't get in time for a policy meeting, but we did strike building principal, because the building principal is in fact a member of the selection committee, so it
But
seems.
it's not at his sole discretion.
Yes.
Right. And that was the thing, what we wanted. That's the only thing I remember being a roadblock to this policy. I don't know what the other one was.
sorry, give me just 1 second to check this.
The other thing that we had changed was the semester trimester, and that may have been what we presented.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
because I think that was the main issue was building principal.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing I remember also was talking about who can speak at graduation.
Right.
But that,
I think that just came
That's the
out
part
as
where we
larger.
removed the building principal and.
Right, I mean,
Well, the selection committee would handle that, right? Yeah, so that's. And it says right here.
I believe that, I mean, in spirit, the change then, rather than it seeming like it's an equal decision, makes it clear that it's a decision among all of the members of the selection committee versus the principal and the selection committee, which might make it seem like they each have 50-50. That was my takeaway at any rate.
I mean, us searching through class.
Well, I think in the graduation, if I remember right, the selection committee does the stuff with the approval of the principal anyhow. So, I mean, this is kind of redundant. If you put building principal in here, just put the selection committee and then he has to approve what they come up with anyhow, so.
so I guess this is what I was trying to find. I think the only issue is that it says the selection committee is described in the student handbook, but the selection committee is described in IKFB-AR. I mean, maybe it's also in the student handbook, but IKFB-AR is graduation exercises and describes the selection committee for commencement speakers, diploma presenters, and entertainment that consist of the following: senior class president, 2 other students who are chosen by the senior class president and are not competing to give speeches or performances for graduation, 2 teachers chosen by the senior class presidents and approved by the principal and the principal or the resident. And
So would you prefer that it reference that policy instead of student handbook?
I
I'm
guess
pretty
that's
sure
a
the
little-
student handbook is the same, but
then, yeah,
that does
I
open
guess-
us up for
Right.
potential problems, so.
Right, then yeah, I would.
Well, if you reference policy, then it's in policy, it's
Right,
not in the
right.
handbook. So
Yeah, then yeah, I think we should probably refer to it as this.
Michelle, did you catch the policy letters? Because I sure as heck
Would you
can't
read
remember.
that again?
It's IKFB-AR.
Thank you.
And I think, just because I think the point of that, just to Rick's point, is the principal can't override that. The principal is a part of that. So, you know, if the principal doesn't want something to happen, if the rest of the committee members still do, it still happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
but it refers to the board policy as opposed to a student handbook.
Right,
The
yes.
student handbook.
And I'm not comfortable referring to board policy if we can.
Absolutely.
So, okay,
With that change in mind, I so move that we accept this policy.
I second that.
okay. Been moved and seconded with the change. All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
Graduation.
Yeah, I gotta get IKF to graduation requirements.
And I have to give my deepest thanks to Susan for turning what was formerly very difficult to read into tables in this policy, making it much easier to interpret exactly what is being said instead of weird lists where the indents don't always look exactly the same depending on what you're looking at it on. So thank you for that work.
You're welcome.
Any concerns?
No, I don't have any.
I didn't on this one.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I would love to make a motion that we approve policy oh my gosh, I cannot read these policy letters all of a sudden.
It's IKF.
Policy IKF. I was looking at it and still said the wrong letter.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right, been moved and seconded, so all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
Jumping the next one, because it's being tabled.
So we're getting there. Want to delete the expulsion, the JGE, and go to the one that's proposed, the JGE for expulsion. So, as soon as my computer catches up here, there we go. All right. Anybody have any thoughts, concerns, whatever on this one? I've read it a couple times and
Was it just to streamline it a little bit?
Yeah, they said that, like, it appears that they figured it was easier, instead of marking it all up, to just delete one and just start fresh and.
yeah.
Okay.
The only other question was who had the responsibility, the authority at the end, whether it went to the board or to the superintendent?
Yes.
And we
Yeah,
kept the authority with the superintendent.
I was just gonna say, I think we have to decide, it's number 3 on something there. First one is 1, 2, 3, and the second one, the use of expulsion for discipline of a student in 5th grade or lower is limited to, and 1, 2, 3, and below 3, I guess that's a whole different thing there. So we need to choose, the board delegates the authority to decide on an expulsion to the superintendent. Okay.
That's what we decided. was-
That's what we
Oh,
decided. That's why
decided.
Yeah.
the second choice is struck out.
Oh, okay.
We chose the first.
Where?
It's
77.
77.
And so
That's on 1 of 3.
I think it's 78.
Wait, we're at which page of the policy?
Oh, that's a policy.
1, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, it's like 23.
Of the proposed policy, not the one that we're deleting.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
There's only, it's only 3 pages to it. It's from the bottom of 1, top of 2. Carries over.
So,
Yeah, so everything looked pretty straightforward, so. Do I hear a motion?
So I move that we delete the previous JGE and then accept the new proposed JGE.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, been moved and seconded. All those in favor? All right, motion passes 5-0.
And we're tabling the last.
Yep.
Yeah, so KLAR, okay. All right, moving on to number 5, 23-24 district calendar, staff view calendar, parent view calendar. The only thing I've seen on between those two is one of them had something underneath the month. I can't remember exactly what the wording is, and I don't have my calendars
I'll
with
pull
me.
it up here.
Yeah, in October, it says the 13th elementary NC.
That's non-conference, or
Yeah.
non-contact, meaning no students.
Yeah, but that's the only difference between the staff and the parent is October, November leave has those 2 comments underneath them, so.
Yeah, and it
Everything
was-
else looked the same to me.
It is, it's exactly the same. It was just trying to put together something that parents could read and something that they're not going to care about necessarily about non-contract days. They want to care about what days their children are in school or not. Where did I put that?
I will say it took me a while to figure out that they were the same calendar, and I kept scrolling up and
I'm
down and
sorry.
up and down,
Well-
going, what is, like, there are no differences other than these footnotes. And then I
That's where it
actually
would have been
read,
nice to have 2 screens and have them both
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
compare.
then I actually read the
I
little
was-
words at the bottom saying
Well, that-
staff
it
view
took-
versus parent view.
It took me a while to figure out that's the only change between the 2. It's like, oh, really? Okay. So are you looking for approval of the staff or the parent, or?
Well, they're both.
one
They're both.
calendar.
I know, but I mean, other than the wording underneath these ones.
No, the
It's
last
the same
month,
calendar.
last month we had 2
It's-
different calendar options now.
Yeah, 1 and 2, so.
So what we did in terms of, with the committee of pulling it together, there was a split between a pre or a post Labor Day start. Most were interested in a post Labor Day start with students. And so that's what this version suggests. And we also heard from families 2 things. One of them was that they prefer that if one age level of students are out of school, that all students are out of school. And so we tried something a little bit more unique to give it a shot. And you'll see the first one when you look at October 12th and 13th. October 12th and 13th are the traditional times when our secondary schools do conferences. What they do is they try and do their conferences earlier to promote students to get their grades up before the end of the grading period. Elementary chooses to wait until closer to the end of first quarter or the end of that grading period for their conferences. They don't want to do them that early. And part of that is with your elementary students, you're taking a little bit longer to get to know who your kids are and all those kinds of things. So typically when we do conferences, we will do them on an evening and a half a day the following day. And so you'll see on October 12th, that is actually the equivalent of an early release day. The early release day for that then says that our elementary folks will go to work on grading, assessment, that kind of thing, while our secondary folks move into conferences. The idea was to not have to work an 8-hour day with students and then immediately go into conferences. So by having students for that half day, it would allow a little bit of a breather, and then you could start your parent conferences going into a Thursday late afternoon, evening, and then finish your conferences on a Friday. So the way that that works would be that on that Thursday, students would be in school for half a day. Students would go home and teachers, dependent upon their level, would have a different day. The 13th, because we want all students to be off at the same time. If one group's out, all groups are out. So on the 13th of October, for our secondary students, for middle and high school, it is for conferences and grading. For our elementary staff, it is a non-contract day. So both ways, it ends up balancing out, because then if you look at November, which are when typically the elementary conferences are, we've got the same thing set up in terms of on the 2nd of November, it's a half day with students. Our secondary folks, instead of doing conferences at that, will do assessment and grading. Our elementary folks will have that little break, go into conferencing. They will finish elementary, their conferencing on Friday the 3rd. that will be the secondary non-contract day. And so we're just trading out those in order to be able to make the equal number of days, but wanting to reflect that once one group of students are out, all groups of students are out.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then the same thing again.
And so then, yeah, then we're looking at the same thing again in April. We did put 2 makeup days in February, and we did that knowing that if history presents itself well, typically we've not had snow days by that point. And so some people said, why don't you put the makeup days later in the year? Because that makes more sense. What we heard from families is February is one heck of a long month. We need some kind of a break at that point. And if we have snow, we'll use it as a makeup day, but if we don't, there's something about being able to have that break at that point in time.
Well, then you put them in there, one on a Friday, one on a Monday, so it actually gives them the 4-day weekend
Yes.
if we don't have to have a makeup.
Right, and so we did that intentionally.
Okay.
And what this ended up was then, I mean, we tried in every possible permutation with the number of days we have to have, but it ends with students on Friday, June 14th. Teachers will need to return on Monday, the 17th, which isn't the most ideal, and we know that, but it ends the students at that point in time. If we had other makeup days beyond the May 24th, we would put them into that week to be able to make them up. Excuse me, so that's how we deal with it and go from there. That was the proposal. The biggest change really is those half days and being able to give those a shot to be able to address the needs of the parents, but also to be able to give staff a little bit of a breather before they have to move into doing their conferencing, because we like to be able to give families a late afternoon, evening opportunity, and then staff come in on that Friday morning to be able to finish up their conferences. And so rather than trying to put more days in there when staff have off and actually going into the week of the 17th with students, we thought, let's just try this and see how this works to be able to get us to a place where we can still be finished in a reasonable amount of time and see how that works. So that's how the calendar committee came together and how this results in what's coming forward to you.
Well, for years, parents have always said that they wanted all their kids out at the same time.
Yep.
This does that, but it also appears that it saves the district some money in busing costs. You know, because you're not busing half the students one day and then half the students on another day. You're, busing them all one day and none the next.
Right.
So,
and so that's what we tried. We spring vacation is going to be the same as across the regional area, so we've got that. We know the same. Winter break, we are the same as Corvallis this year. We're the same as most everybody this year. We thought about running into, the week of the 18th of December, or excuse me, the week of 18th of December, and having like a Monday or Tuesday as school days to be able to change that. There was a real interesting point brought to our attention that there are some times when some of our families that are from split homes, somebody may say, you get your child the vacation time before Christmas, the winter holiday of your choice, or whatever, is the right way to do it. And the other parent gets them the second half. So if we run 2 days into that week of the 18th, are we taking away some days that a custodial parent may have with their children? And so it was really a thoughtful thing to bring up. And so we kept that the same, and actually discovered that there are very few of our regional districts that are going into that week of the 18th. But it was a new way of thinking that I'd not ever thought of being able to say, let's take a look at how some of our families spend their vacation.
And I'm going to guess that if the double makeup days in February if I were to say, how come that's not on June 14th so that teachers can be done on the 14th, that would be because then the quarters and grading periods would be off. Is that correct?
Yep. And we have to have a certain number of days in there to be able to make it. And we didn't want to push, we wanted to try and not push it out any later. But the only way that we could make it work with the number of days we needed was to have the students end on that one day, so.
Oh, yeah, but I was saying if we moved one of the makeup days from February to the
Oh, yeah.
14th,
Yeah,
but that throws off the grading.
You know, it doesn't throw it by much. Typically, like, the high school likes the second trimester to be a little bit longer. But I mean, to only take a day, it's not a bad thing. What we were trying to do was listen to the folks that said, we just need a break sometime in February, so. But yeah, that's out there too. Yeah, and all the calendars went through school staff, so they had opportunities to be vetted and to take a look and see. And we thought we'll give this a shot. And probably, you know, if we look at October and November and find that the half-day setup works, I would anticipate proposing a comparable calendar for 24-25 so that we can have that out there early to be able to make that determination. But it gives us the opportunity, if it's not the best in October and November, we can put our heads together and reconfigure for 24-25.
So we're still gonna be December, January before we get an approved calendar for 24-25.
Well, we can always put one out. I mean, that's the other thing is we can throw one out in May for 24-25.
I was gonna say,
And mirror it.
that's always been a problem in the past, is people trying to plan for the next year, and we don't get a calendar out till late, and then it's hard for them to plan, you know, family vacations or whatever they're doing.
Well, we'll bring it back in May. I'll do that.
So I would like to see it sooner rather than later, you know, for the 24-25.
Okay, absolutely, I can do that.
So we stay ahead, and then, you know, moving into the future, try to stay in that May for the year, you know.
Yeah, ideally next year, I'd like to have us working on 25-26.
Yeah.
You know, that was my bad for taking a year off. I mean, to not think about the calendar.
No.
But yeah, we always need to be that far ahead.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so, with that being said, anybody got any more concerns, questions, or anything? I'd be willing to entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the 23-24 district calendar as
presented, right? Okay, second.
Sure.
All right. You're not very ambitious. All right, been moved and seconded. All those in favor? All right, motion passes 5-0. Thank
Sorry,
you.
you guys have to come back on the 17th.
And thank you to the work of the calendar committee. They really do a nice job of, you know, they were the ones that thought outside the box of the two distinct non-contract days and those half days. And I was kind of like, wow, so it's amazing what you can come up with.
So the next meeting agenda items, we have scheduling meeting with KBCS, and now we also have the 24-25 calendar to be brought back to us.
And the policies.
Reflections from our student representative.
Yeah.
And
anybody have anything else?
I don't know, if it's not, I guess, agenda items, but just, are we going ahead with that joint meeting next Thursday? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, what date is the special election in May? Before or after our school board meeting? I mean, not what really matters, but.
It's May 16th.
Before.
You know that, Karen?
No, I'm
passing it.
Is it the 16th?
It's the 16th.
Yeah. And our meeting would be the 18th.
So I might not be here on the 18th.
And yes, you will. Just a reminder, I will not be here on the 18th. I will be attending my daughter's college graduation.
Okay, cool.
So,
All right.
Well, the next day.
Moving along to board thanks.
I would like to thank the board. So it's all working together. I really would love to thank the staff of the school district, administrators, teachers, support staff. We have a great district, and I keep hearing you.
I want to thank Jackson for being here and, making it work.
Make it happen.
Yes.
I'm anxious to hear feedback, that'll be good.
I would like to thank everyone who was involved in making this food service change project happen, because I know that has been a big lift for a whole lot of people to figure that all out, and I really appreciate that, so thank you all for your work on that.
And it's Teacher Appreciation Week, and clearly our staff, teachers, administration, they are the assets of this school district. And I know this season gets a little tense when everyone starts to talk about budgets and money, but I really just want to put it out there how much, I wish money was not an object. There's not a dollar amount that really encompasses what you do for us, so I just want to put that out there on the table. Pass it around.
Well, I want to thank all the staff, like I normally do, from top to bottom, everything they do. Jennifer, this time of year with the budget negotiations, all them kind of things, all the extra work that she has to put in to try to make those things go. And then just everybody that is doing anything, and then the special project that's coming up with the baseball and softball field, the volunteers that are trying to get that off the ground and going. I seen an email the other day, I think it was an email or something, that they're trying to get the volunteers and get things started, so as soon as the seasons are done, then they can get right after that while the weather's still hopefully decent. It'll dry out a little bit, but everybody that's involved with that. So anyhow, that's where we're at with that. Board requests.
Less rain?
What's that?
Less rain?
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
I have a little request, I don't know if it's actually a board request, but I just want to throw it out there that Jennifer is a mom with kids that have sporting events in the evening sometimes, and it might be nice if she could attend and maybe phone in if she has a conflict on the night. So,
If what?
absolutely. Jennifer has, her kids play sports, and I would hate for her not to be able to be at a sporting event potentially. And
Oh,
just
okay.
give her the flexibility to maybe call in for a
Yeah.
meeting.
No, that's fine.
Absolutely.
I can
Well,
go for
put
that.
that out there.
The Philomath got canceled today, so it wasn't easy.
Yeah. Either that or we just stream it instead of our.
Yeah, we'll just have the game running.
Okay, well,
I know nothing about the sports ball, but I'll watch it.
hearing no more requests, we'll be adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for staying till the end. You're in that area with those covers. And been putting those things and then need to come outside and get a little release, for the temperature. They can't because it's raining or whatever. And this will improve that, so.
I just broke my toe walking in my house.
Oh, not a
No, not
Thank you, because I broke my toe, maybe I started walking funny.
That's why we have the targets on our back and it really takes skin and just like, oh, well,
appreciated working being made, and it was nice to know.
And it was very strict on the board members that money be used to purchase ground later on.
There you go.
Because we sold the ground, so we want to keep it.
Yeah, get it here. Good thing, I love the calendar.
You know, one of the members is no longer with us, and she just sits in her grave and she knew what we were doing.
So do you remember your trip?
So anyhow, you know, that's what I'm kind of bringing with that, but
I actually.
if there's any way we can get that money back in now.
I just get in on the.
We need to.
I know.
Because they're being accommodated, the district grows enough that we have to have another school somewhere. We're gonna have to buy it, it won't be donated, all the ground that can be donated has been donated. You know, we need to. So, okay, good to see you again. I guess we'll see you Monday.
Who it was.
Well, I am.
Trick is probably my favorite.
Some guy.
I just really wanted to get that one.
No, I get it. And honestly, I mean, the changes you make.
I think it's on our, I just couldn't remember.
Continue the superintendent's evaluation process.
Right.
I will give you.
Well, thank you, Brad, for always coming to these
Yeah, why don't we just?
and everything else.
Yeah.
I got no wireless one.
Oh, you do.
Yeah.
You do have a life, and every time I see photos up on the Philomath, and guess what? So I have like a Google alert for all of my kids' names.
So Chris, that's evaluation. Is that right?
But for a long time, it wasn't straight out.
Do you remember your trip?
Yeah, I really did.
So, we'll probably be getting increased kids to the website because of that. So just in the last.
That started
Really rough.
I don't know. I don't get you.
The chance for my kids, I've been all over there.
Okay, so that's.
that'll have to be in public sessions.
The goal, yeah.
It's a trig ratio, but there is obvious.
Discussion about the.
Google is very.
Right, so, and then you got your right track.
I'm in the first grade, so I hear all of this.
Oh my gosh.
Sounds weird to each other.
I'm like, as somebody who has their entire life loved the Oxford comma, he was not hoping to be like,
I should talk about it.
and when somebody explains the comma, it's supposed to be organizing what it is. You could be retired, so I'm not. I think people would understand why AP style takes.
Well, good to see you. I got you. See you next Thursday.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
See you.
but yes, I definitely am very familiar with AP style and my years
Next
of graphic
Thursday,
design and checking, making sure that
Yeah,
there's
next
periods that are
Thursday,
bullet point.
But I think I need to.
See you then.
They have to.
Yeah, but we really.
Oh, we have a monitor. Thanks for your time. I was gonna pat you on the shoulder, but my hands are ice cubes and physically painful for both hands. All right, I'll see you guys later. My puppy is gonna be freaking out because I've been going over it for 12 hours.
Yeah,
I'm
because,
gonna.
Just a minute.
yep, because if I were him, it might be that. Like, I don't think that's kind of,
It's so cold out here.
that gray or this brown,
Yeah.
or that white, I don't know.
American flag in the background. That's what the American flag.